oppressed people rise up against an empire in command of death itself. A war of liberation. But who pulls the strings?
Valkyria Revolution is a big step away from what we know and understand about its parent series, Valkyria Chronicles, as it opts for more action-based mechanics. While it's easy to see why fans would be wary of this new approach to the strategy turn-based RPG series, this fresh take on the Valkyria series is actually a welcome one. 4 games in, the Valkyria series has yet to see an installment that could be described as a dud, and you know what? Valkyria Revolution might be one of our favourite installments in the series thus far. When the small country of Jutland is invaded and taken over by the hostile Ruzi Empire, who have quickly become powerful after acquiring Ragnite, a rare resource, they strike back in a bid to win their independence. While both nations wage war, there are 5 people who are working behind the scenes known as the 5 Traitors. But are they really as traitorous as their name suggests? The game will keep you on your toes as you battle against the Ruzi Empire and unravel the mysteries of the 5 Traitors of Jutland. Lengthy cutscenes flesh out the story, and there are optional scenes you can watch to learn even more, and we definitely recommend you go out of your way to do so. Having grown to like much of the cast, we were eager to check out every bit of content that Valkyria Revolution had to offer. Downtime in between missions lets you spend time with your squad mates and see what citizens think of your efforts, giving room to become attached to your friends as well as to become more engaged in your actions in the war.
One who mourns the death of an enemy has no place in war. Because I have declared to my people that I will continue to stand at the front lines, I cannot allow my heart to falter.
Valkyria Revolution is well written and has grand ambitions that it reaches. Europa really does feel like a living, breathing world where you can bring peace to the citizens of Jutland, or cause them to become sick with worry. It's not just your teammates that you have to think about, but the entire nation itself. The Valkyria series has always told intimate stories of war, and Revolution is no exception. What has changed greatly is the combat system, which gives you more control than ever. Instead of having a finite amount of time to cover ground and make a move, you can now run around freely. The only things that are limited are when you are able to attack, use an ability or an item, but you can guard and dodge at any time. You can flick between your team members to make the most of this timer though, and you give orders to your teammates on which action to take next. They sometimes like to just stand and watch, so this gives them the kick up the arse they need. It might not be as strategic as Valkyria Chronicles. This new style of gameplay is more reminiscent of something like Final Fantasy Type 0. But it's engaging and fast-paced, and the use of elemental attacks alongside a variety of melee and ranged weapons means that you still need to prepare for each individual mission, and each character has a specific class which makes them best suited for certain objectives. Mechanically, it may seem less strategic when in battle, but in the end there's more you'll need to prepare for beforehand. Creating and upgrading equipment plays a big role in this, and takes the interesting approach of being applied to your whole squad. Valkyria Revolution features a different art style from its predecessors too, having less of a focus on looking like a watercolor painting in motion, and more on 3D models and environments that aren't nearly as cel-shaded or hand-drawn looking. It still attempts to look as if we're glimpsing into a history book though, via the game's unique scratchy overlay, and it's a lovely looking game despite being a far cry from what we'd expect from the series. Each playable character stands out, there's an abundance of colour and flair, and it still feels very much like a bona fide Valkyria game. We have zero complaints about the voice acting and soundtrack, both of which are superb. A sweeping orchestral score doesn't betray the game's 1850s setting, and it's an utter joy to listen to. The voice acting is lively and emotive, breathing life into the game's emotional tale, and each fit the personality and role of the character that they're given. There's really nothing negative to say in regards to the audio at all, as it's a strong show overall. What's important to take away is that Valkyria Revolution shouldn't be skipped solely because it isn't what you'd expect from this series, because you might end up pleasantly surprised with how great the overall package is. We certainly were. If this change is what's needed to breathe life into a stagnant series once again, then we're all for it, and who knows, maybe we'll be seeing 2 different Valkyria branches going forward. Either way, this is indeed a revolution for the Valkyria series.